I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like the minutes to reflect we held an executive session tonight for legal and personnel issues. Any comments on agenda items? Any comments on agenda items? Okay, you don't see any. Enrollments are in your booklet for your review. Item 5, approval of minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Changes or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Gregory?
Yes.
Dr. Frigola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes. Superintendent's report?
Yeah, I'm asking that the board table item 1 under the superintendent's report, but that you approve item 2.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Gregory?
Yes.
Dr. Frigola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
So I have a quick update to give you, if that's okay. And I had a couple shout outs, if I could just recognize a couple things. One is that I had a text today from Annie Moran, who is our acting principal at the primary. The primary held a reading contest, and they finally are finishing up the counting of the books. And so we want to give a shout out to Mrs. Bevan's room, who read a total of 615 books in the month of March. Mrs. Williams, her class read 350. Mrs. Saylor, who is first grade, their class read 337, and Mrs. Ziegler, who teaches second grade, their class read a total of 411 books. So that's awesome. The other thing I wanted to just make sure everybody knew is that the chorus is singing again. And they
Awesome.
So Mr. Boscher, thank you for making that happen. He told me on Tuesday morning there were tears. So, and I have talked to a couple of the kids that are in the chorus, and they are in the courtyard, and are very happy to be singing again. So I wanted to bring that up as a follow-up from our last.
Will we have any events?
I'm sorry?
Will they be doing any events?
Any events? Yeah.
Yes.
So I wanted to just kind of, we've seen a spike in cases in the county, and right now our positivity rate is right at around 19%. And just some additional data to look at. This is just sort of a chart. And the first one was on the last 7 days. This one is actually figured on the last 14 days. You can see, so the 14% positivity rate is 15%. The 7-day positivity rate is 19%. So I just show you that because I want to update you on numbers. So what you're going to see is because of the Easter holiday weekend, our numbers are very low. Now these are the kids we're currently tracking. These are the kids who have been in school. If you look at the primary, you're going to see we're tracking 0 cases at the primary. However, we've identified 2 cases since the last board meeting. And we have 13 primary students in quarantine as of this afternoon. At the intermediate center, we're currently tracking 2 cases. Now I know when you got the phone call this morning at 5 a.m., it said because of 3 cases we were contact tracing. That is true. We were contact tracing 3 cases, but only 2 of them do we need to track because they've been in our buildings. So that's the difference there. There have been 10 cases in the intermediate center in the last 2 weeks. At the STEM center, we're currently tracing 1. There have been 3 in the STEM center in the last 2 weeks. And the high school, we're currently tracking 0. There have been 7 cases identified in the high school since the last board meeting. But again, because the buildings were closed for that long weekend. Everything reset to 0 on Tuesday. So we've got 90 odd kids in quarantine as of right now. So those are sort of some of the updates. I wanted to talk to the community a little bit about changing some of the protocols. I need you to understand that I don't like making a phone call at 5 a.m. in the morning. And it's not that I don't want to make the phone call. I don't like sending the phone call out. Because when we had to do that last night, it was a function of us continuing to contact trace until 10:45 last night. Now, at 10:45 at night, parents are not answering their phones. We're not able to complete the contact tracing, and that was why I made the decision that we were going to close the IC today so that we could complete the contact tracing. That's not fair to parents. It's not fair to families. So going forward, we're making some changes in how we're doing the contact tracing. And there has to be a reasonable time in the evening that we say we can't get this done because parents need to plan. So going forward, it is my hope that you will not get the call at 5 a.m. in the morning, that you will get it the night before so that you have more of a chance to plan, especially with the younger kids. So we will be establishing a cutoff at which time we say, okay, we can't get this done tonight in a reasonable amount of time because it's not reasonable to be making those phone calls at 10:45 at night.
Heather, I have a question.
Sure.
And maybe you'll answer it in here, but I'm a little bit concerned that the spike could go on for a little bit longer, and that could mean more time at a classroom that wouldn't necessarily have to have happened. Is there a way to maybe incorporate delay starting
We could.
the next day rather than closing altogether
We
for
could.
virtual?
We could do that. The thing is, though, Holly, we would have to delay the whole district because of the busing.
Well, and I understand that,
Yeah. Okay.
it would affect them in the high school, but at least then it's also, you don't know which building it's going to be in to begin with.
There's just no, there's no guarantee, like even if we did a delayed start, there's no guarantee. Like we didn't finish contact tracing until probably this afternoon, 2:30 this afternoon? Yeah. So there's just no guarantee. We can try it.
Well, I understand, but I mean, like, if it comes down to a situation where we're waiting for a phone call from like 2 or 3 parents, I don't know if I'm imagining a wrong scenario. Like, I'd hate to see 1,000 kids out of school for the day because 2 parents couldn't return a call. So I feel like there has to be something else that we could do, because if it happened like 3 times the rest of the year, who cares? But if it turned into a thing that was happening like once a week for the rest of the year, well, that I think is more substantial disruption.
I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just got to make that call. I mean, I'm not there with the contact tracing, so I don't know the details of it. What I would prefer is schools canceled for the whole day and virtual versus we start out with a delay and then we're virtual the rest of the day because it's much more disruptive. And it only affects one building versus the whole district. So
Exactly.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with Holly. It's just you guys are going to be the ones to know that. If you can delay school and it makes sense, great. If not, I think it makes sense to close whatever building's affected.
Every situation is different.
Yeah, I think it's going to also depend on just the frequency in which the scenario comes up. Like I said, if it's a couple more times here and there, but I feel like the cases aren't going to go away anytime soon, so we could just be accelerating that, and that would be troubling to me.
Okay, understood. So I wanted to provide a little bit of an update on the summer programming. We have defined a little bit better what that's going to look like. It still has not come all together, but we can tell you a little bit more detail than what we could last week or 2 weeks ago. So at the primary and the intermediate level through 8th grade, we're going to run this as an 8-week program. What we're going to do in order to attract more families and in order to incentivize families to participate is we're going to say, look, if you will let your kid participate in this, we're asking you to attend 6 of the 8 weeks. And that way, if there's a family vacation or a family reunion or there's some event, that the family has some flexibility there. At the high school level, we're going to run this for 5 weeks. high school kids have a lot more capabilities and a lot more ability to be remote, but we are looking at 4 different levels of programming. The Cub Camps at K to 4, 5th through 8th grade, Tiger Tech. The credit recovery would be a 5-week program, 9 to 12, and then the enrichment programs, they'll be a little bit more in person and more of a hybrid. So the Cub Camps K to 4, we're looking at themed weeks, 3 days of instruction. 1 day at the end of the week, probably Thursday, would be a field trip that would incorporate all of it would align with whatever the theme was that week. We have a number of very enthusiastic students and recent graduates that are putting together some proposals for themes. And again, so the field trip might culminate the week. We're trying to make this very fun and very inviting for kids. And then the teachers, the staff would have a half-day virtual planning day on Friday. The kids would not attend on Friday. Tiger Tech would be, we're looking for themes around STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. And we're asking our young student teachers and new teachers, college students that are in the teaching field to come up with proposals for these different weeks. Again, it's the same thing, 3 days of instruction, 1 day field trip that culminates with whatever the theme was, and then they also will have a half-day planning on Friday. Kids would not have Friday. The credit recovery is 3.5 days of virtual instruction. The kids would be required to come on campus for half a day, meet face-to-face with the teacher. This is 5 weeks only. And then did I miss something here? The enrichment, I'm sorry. That's 4 days of hybrid, and that's going to be really up to the teacher because these are more enrichment classes that kids would be able to take. So the teachers would have a half day on Friday, but the kids would actually be a combination of on and off campus for 4 days during the week. I apologize. So for the younger kids, K to 8, we're going to operate Monday through Thursday from 9 to 2. All right, so that's when the instructional program would happen, would be between 9 and 2. We are going to provide before and after care, beginning at 7 a.m. and ending at 4 a.m. So again, if child care is an issue, we don't want that to be a barrier to your child being able to participate in some academic recovery. We're asking students and families to commit to 6 of the 8 weeks they choose. So again, I'm trying to be accommodating to family plans. Any kid that's just going to come during the middle of the day, right, that's not going to be dropped off by mom or dad on their way to work, we're going to provide free transportation. We're going to provide breakfast and lunch, and none of this comes at any cost to families. So the credit recovery and enrichment, these are the 9 through 12 programs. They're going to operate on the 5 weeks between June 21st and July 22nd. The K to 8 programs are going to operate for 8 weeks between June 21 and August
13th.
Yeah, 13th. Okay, thank you. All right, so there's been some questions about the ESSERS funding. The ESSERS funding is what's going to pay for the summer program. All right, so it kind of is a lead-in. We're anticipating, and these are rough numbers, so don't anybody, like, if I'm $40,000 off somewhere, you know, but these are rough numbers of what we are expecting, the allocations that we're expecting for ESSERS 2 and ESSERS 3. 1.9 million for ESSERS 1 or ESSERS 2 and 3.88 million for ESSERS 3. So it's a total of 5.7 million, 5.8 million. And we can use this over the course of 3 years. So we could use this money to do 3 years of summer programming, right? To try to catch up kids. to try to provide extra opportunities for kids during the summer. The federal government has said at least a minimum of 20% must be used for academic recovery. So we must use 20%, we can use a lot more. So when we're talking about summer programming, we want to be able to learn from this summer and to also implement next summer and the summer after. So none of this, we have not applied for this grant yet. We do not have this money. This is just, the grant application is available. We have kind of set up some buckets. So there's the bucket of educational intervention, of which the summer program is one of them, right? But there's other things, there's other ideas that we have, such as after-school tutoring and some other academic supports for kids. So again, this covers 3 school years, 21-22, 22-23, 23-24. So we can use this money going forward for whatever supports the kids need. And so when we look at this, it's important that we understand that anything that we use this money for, this money goes away. And the mistake that other districts have made when these types of opportunities have come before is they have funded things that they're going to need to fund year after year after year, right? And then all of a sudden the bottom falls out and there's no money coming in anymore. So we don't want to make that mistake. So when we're looking at technology, we're talking about replacing the Chromebooks that we have, right? Replacing the technology that we have, because the kids are using these Chromebooks. They don't last forever. They're not intended to last forever. So we need a plan for moving forward to replace the Chromebooks. Textbooks, we don't always purchase, and we've put off the purchase of textbooks before. So we could use some of this money for textbooks because they're going to be something that we're not going to need for a while afterwards. There are some components of operations in terms of, additional cleaning, ventilation, those types of things that we might want to continue on. Infrastructure is the same way. We have a list of things from Building and Grounds that the Building and Grounds Committee is looking at doing. We could consider taking a couple of those projects that are going to improve, like air quality, and we could look at doing that underneath this grant. The Fusion C3 program, we need to keep working on that and keep building content. As things change, and right now, let's say if we change our reading series or we change our math series, we're going to need to continue to invest in that program and people to continue to build those courses out. So that's those are sort of the buckets that we're thinking. I can't provide you with a lot of detail at this point. We are going to have a finance committee meeting where we're going to dig down into some of these the different ideas that we're having about this and what that might mean and what the numbers actually would mean. As far as the fall 2021, I know...
Heather, real quick before you go on, so
Yeah.
I think it's important to note that money is not currently in any of our balance sheets.
No.
It's not here until we apply for it, and so that way the public's clear on that. It's not in our current budget for this year. It's not in our current budget for next year. It's stuff we have to apply for based on using it along those lines.
Right.
And not
it is our
guaranteed.
response to COVID. It is our response to
Correct.
What have we lost this year?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, and it's not guaranteed.
The money is not guaranteed.
ESSERS 2 is pretty much guaranteed, right? ESSERS 2 is
I think the money's pretty well guaranteed.
I mean.
I haven't heard
it's
that.
in the bank, I mean, that's how
Yeah.
I always look at it, there's always
Yeah.
going to be room for changes, alterations, but in reality, what's been communicated is a commitment to those 2 numbers. So at this point, I have a pretty high degree of confidence that money will be received. But it's also a 3-year outlook, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's always room for changes over a 3-year outlook, but,
It doesn't come in a lump sum, it comes in monthly installments, so that you can go back in and do a grant revision if you need to.
Okay. We are planning for a 5-day return in the fall of 2021. Right? Currently, what we're doing is assessing some of our options for maximizing social distancing. So we're in the process right now of looking at rooms and saying, what if we put desks 4 feet apart? What if we put desks 3 feet apart? What are our staffing needs going to be? I'll know more of that tomorrow. We're looking at additional supports for academic recovery, and that is also going to be helping to inform our staffing needs. So that's kind of where we're at. I can't provide any more level of detail right now because we're gathering information. That's all. So, thanks. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I do. I want to, like, when you were talking about the different ways we could spend the money, I was really excited to see that we can put some more, and I know that this has already been a pet project of yours before COVID ever existed, the air quality issues. And it's one of those things that people don't pay attention to a lot of times until there's a problem. Even then, they might not even realize that that is the cause of the problem. So I think that's going to be a benefit because we already have some expenses we put out in Tunkhannock before COVID to monitor air quality. So that's going to be great. I had a question about the 9 to 12 credit recovery. What has the format for that traditionally been before COVID?
So it has the last several years been online.
Okay, so it was previously online.
Yes, it was previously online, but then the teachers require that the kids come in it might be once a week, it might be twice a week, just so they're laying eyes on them and that can help. But they also have them available for, help online. My concern when you first said that, and then I realized that I thought there was a history of it being virtual before COVID, so I changed that track. But my concern is that a lot of the kids who might be in a credit recovery program this year who wouldn't have traditionally have been there, it would be because they couldn't succeed at virtual. So is there a barrier or a limitation to considering? Well, it'll be a lot less content. So we're going to go in and we're going to prioritize the standards and prioritize what they need to learn in a 5-week period. So there's not going to be a lot of extraneous projects and things like that, Holly. It is going to be, and I think these are going to be smaller sections and, more teacher availability.
And I'm not going to put words in anybody else's mouth, but when I think about the fall, when we talk about 3 feet spacing, 4 feet spacing, we're preparing for what could be possible directives or guidelines from the state. Absent something like that, we're not anticipating extraordinary measures, right? Like, we're not going to have kids in the gym if there's not a mandate.
That.
If there's not a guideline or a mandate saying we have to have spacing.
I'm not expecting that. I'm not expecting that. But I also don't know. I don't know what the situation's going to be in the fall.
Right.
I don't know what the.
I feel strongly that as a district that we comply with. There's that line between complying and then like what we decide to do internally. I just don't want to go further than we need to and displace something that's not necessary. For example, the idea that if there is no spacing guidelines, I would expect that we would just have normal classrooms again, except they'd be cleaner with better air in them, and we'd have more access to hand sanitizer. So there are certain things that are never going to go away. We're going to continue our cleaning procedures to probably a large extent, I'd imagine, because not a bad thing to do. But I just, I want to be hesitant to look at, or to give the messaging that we're planning on internally deciding that we now need to do these things, even if there's nothing saying that we need to or should. Like spacing out a certain distance. Like I'd like to see kids, if there's no mandate saying that we can't do otherwise, I want to see kids in the cafeteria sitting with their friends. That, I wouldn't want to see that the future of education is desks in the cafeteria spaced 4 feet apart. So that's just where I'm trying to go with that.
Anything else?
Thank you. Next on the committees, I believe we need to schedule some committee meetings.
Yep, so we scheduled 2 that I wrote down. We have Finance Committee scheduled for April 15th at 6 p.m. in the Administration Building. I see Bob writing, that's why I'm taking my time. And we have a Facilities Committee scheduled for April 22nd at 6 p.m. at the high school library. And then we also have a curriculum committee meeting. Mary, do you pass that one?
Curriculum committee April 15th at 5:30.
In admin.
At the admin, yes. So 2 of those meetings will be on April 15th. One at 5:30 and one at 6. Okay.
So can I give just a
Yes.
update on extracurriculars? What we talked about a month ago board meeting, that if there's a change in any of the guidelines and the governor did institute changes in the venue capacities right now, which I believe is outdoor 50% capacity, indoor 25%, I believe. So I think, Heather, we have to just reflect our internal guidelines to reflect that. The other question that came up, and Ms. McPherson got some information, if the school is physically closed, a school or let's say the high school, but we are allowing virtual, we are going to allow extracurriculars to continue to take place in the afternoon. However, if that particular, and I'll use a sport team as an example, if the sport team is involved or the athletics team is involved with the contact trace, then that team will not be allowed to practice or play. Is that the way we got the information, Heather?
Yes.
So Todd, I think that was one of the, I think we got a lot of emails and texts about that, so I think you just want to clarify that moving forward. Okay, that's it.
That's it? Thank you.
And one other quick question. Are we counting Saturday and, now that the charts or whatever changed, you and I talked about this a little bit, we only have to close a minimum of 2 days to reset our numbers. So are we looking at doing this in a way so that every weekend we're resetting our numbers?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
As long as we don't have events inside,
Right.
we don't.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Go on to new business. Item 1, looking for a resolution to approve bus and van contracts.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Frevola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Abstain.
Mrs. Gregory? Mrs. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes. Okay. Any other comments? Public comments?
Phil, I just want to mention that many of you saw the accident last week on Route 307 with the motorcycle, with the car. The driver of the motorcycle was a teacher who turned into administrative assistant up at Elk Lake at the Career Center, Mr. Gary Fenton, and he will be really missed. He was heading the house building projects and things like that up there.
I'm sure that everyone will miss him. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Now that we have more data, do we know of any transmissions that have happened within the school? I know that's been like a primary concern for a long time, but do we know of any actual transmissions yet that happened like peer-to-peer?
It is so difficult to tell. It really is. Have we had multiple kids on a team, come down with it? Yeah, but to say that that's how they caught it, I can't say that.
Have we had multiples?
We have kids in a bus. I can't say with certainty. I'm not a virologist or whatever, however it is that you say it, I'm a epidemiologist. I don't know.
Okay, but we haven't had multiples like within a classroom or anything like that?
Well,
I mean, there probably have been instances where there is more than one.
Yeah.
To say that there would be examples of where there was like a cluster of them, I would not say that.
No, okay. The other question I have, and I think this is just because I don't understand it, for the enrichment, why are those programs longer than the makeup credits?
they're not.
Oh, I thought they were.
Everything from 9 to 12 is 5 weeks.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood then. All right, thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Bosher, was today the first day back for all the cyber kids that came back?
Yes, we had maybe 65 students return, or maybe either return to the building, or some of them, this was their first day in the building this year. So it was fun. The building was busy. I don't know, it just, like I said, not only were there a lot of students in the building, but then after school, there's also a beautiful day, and the grass is green. It was a good day at the high school.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Do we anticipate some of our senior students' activities may return?
Yeah, actually, we're actually planning for pretty much every senior event in some variation right now. Some of that stuff, we're kind of holding our cards a little close to our chest, you know, because there's a lot of things up in the air, but we actually, not this Sunday, but next Sunday is the National Honor Society ceremony. That's just the beginning of the season, really, you know. So, and we're planning on the community awards night and,
I saw
senior
prom
awards
tickets.
night.
Prom tickets were publicly announced, so there's going to be a prom.
Prom tickets.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got
Wonderful.
a couple of events that we haven't announced yet because there's some of those senior things we try to want to make a surprise. But yeah, we're already planning on graduation ceremonies and all those sorts of things.
Are we doing the parade again? Because that was actually pretty cool.
Probably not, because PennDOT still has prohibits parades, and ours was kind of in the gray area. I've already been notified about that one, so I'm not sure we can.
So my daughter sent me back up here and wants to know about 8th grade dance.
8th grade dance.
Yeah.
We have not discussed that one. So, yes.
Okay.
Yep,
Thanks.
thank you. So, but anyway, just to answer your question, we are actually hoping to hold, many of the similar events. We were pretty good last spring holding some variation, and we hope to do more of that. So.
Wonderful. Anybody else? Any other questions or business comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, everyone. I didn't forget anything, did I?